Well, I was dead on arrival. Yep. Ain't this fucking pointless? Trying to rescue some ministry of fucking whatever's son, grandson, and I was already pronounced dead because somehow the Onikafuji Defense Alliance was even aware of somebody being sent down to Hinamizawa and find them. So it was pretty much my cover was blown before I was even assigned. You've got to be kidding me. What's the point of all this? What am I gonna fucking do now? I had a restless night's sleep. I did nothing but turn over repeatedly during a night that seemed like it lasted for an eternity. Even then, I eventually fell asleep at some point, not realizing how high in the sky the sun risen. I shook off the urge to go back to sleep. Then I noticed the phone was ringing. The time was almost 10:30. Clearly too late for a wake-up call. Akasaka, good morning, is Ooishi. Waking up to the sound of his voice was a little too much of a shock. Delicate ears were ringing. But thanks to the shock, I was wide awake. Hello. Good morning. Could it be you just woke up? Even though you're on assignment, it's not good to be asleep during regular business hours. You're absolutely right. I'll be more careful in the future. I have another tidbit that might wake you up even more. Something interesting mixed in with the lost and found at the Hinamizawa police box. The lost and found? We'll leave the details for when you get here. Think you'll be able to make it before noon? I'll be there right away. He already knew what my mission was. Since Ooishi said it was something that would wake me up, it was hard to believe that it would be irrelevant to me. Honestly speaking, judging by the information from Sato-san yesterday, knowing that my cover was already blown, I couldn't wander to and from Hinamizawa carelessly. My investigation was at an impasse. There was some information that could put me back on the trail. It would be nothing less than a stroke of good fortune. After vigorously washing my face, I put on my jacket and hailed a taxi heading towards the Okinomiya police station. Oh, you're here! The genius Mahjong player has arrived. Apologies for being late. What's popped up? With no intention of reminiscing about last night, I pressed him to get to the point. Anticipating that I'll act that way, Ooishi cut to the chase. Like I said earlier, something arrived in the Hinamizawa police box lost and found this morning. Lost items that were turned over to the police box was sent to Okinomiya Station after the paperwork was filed out. Ooishi put out a plastic bag from a drawer and laid its labeled contents onto the desk. A wallet? Indeed, a small change inside, but no bills. We thought it was a pickpocket threw it away after pulling out the contents. At first, I didn't understand how this wallet so far removed from Tokyo could possibly be related. If it had drawn Ooishi's attention, it would have to be something dramatic, like it belonged to the missing grandchild. Which would be absurd. Like something that convenient would happen. If it was Z, there was probably initials written on it. Like initials of Toshiki Inugai, the minister's grandson, or T.I. Thinking like that, at this point, I didn't suppose that this wallet was something that could get Ooishi so excited. After putting on a pair of disposable plastic gloves, Ooishi hands me a pair of the same. I didn't feel that this wallet was such an important thing. I had my doubts about whether there was any point in putting on. But I didn't want Ooishi's intentions to go to waste, so I reluctantly did. He opened up the plastic bag, pulled it out, showing me the back. As I imagined, initials engraved there. But it was more detailed than what I had thought, with Toshiki I marked on it. Ooishi grinned at me with a look on his face that said, "See? We can't confirm from that this belongs to the minister's grandson," I informed him calmly. This wallet wasn't relevant, nothing more than Ooishi's overeagerness. There was absolutely no way in this distant locale that a missing grandson's wallet would be found with such convenient timing. After all, the Onikazuchi Defense Alliance wasn't related to the case in the first place. No way this wallet belonged to the grandson. Why I wanted to decide that was the case, even I didn't really know. Even though what should have been a top-secret case was leaked before I had even been dispatched. In this situation, how could I say this was definitely unrelated? Wouldn't it be more prudent to pay more attention to this wallet? It had only been a couple of days since I arrived here. But in those couple of days, due to a number of remarkable events, my nerves might have become just a little frayed. Shaking my head slightly, I cleared of unnecessary thoughts. Ooishi opened the wallet zipper, revealing the contents. Small change and a number of crumpled receipts. Ooishi from that jumble pulled out a folded card. My heart stopped. A card from a dental examination. Toshiki Inogai and the age. A perfect match. The dentist's location was Tokyo. No need to explain further. How far was it from Tokyo to Hinamizawa? Far enough to take the bullet trains, and cars would still take several hours. Why would a wallet with a dental examination card from Tokyo inside showed up in Hinamizawa? Could it belong to a tourist that came from Tokyo? A villager on vacation to Tokyo, just happened to pay a visit to the dentist. No, it had fallen into somebody's bag by accident. In my mind, I desperately struggled to find a possible way as to why this wallet didn't belong to Toshiki Inogai. It was as if it just wouldn't do for this wallet to belong to him. But weeding out the possibilities for error one by one, the haze surrounding the wallet in front of me faded, gradually letting it come to clear focus. See? I felt a shiver of electricity running on my spine. Pulse quickened and a thin film of sweat began to coat my entire body. From Ooishi's point of view, I probably slack-jawed and spaced out with a slovenly look on my face. Did you get information from the dental office? That's your job, Akasaka. I didn't go that far. When did this wallet show up? Person who picked it up was a villager. They did so yesterday, it seems. I mean, when was this wallet dropped? Rained here last week, 7 days ago. Doesn't look like the contents are water damaged, so the longest it could have been would have been 6 days. Anybody else at the station have knowledge of the existence of this wallet? The officer who first encountered it at the Hinamizawa police box, and 2 or 3 people in charge of the lost and found. Other than that, it's just me and you. If it was involved in a classified case, it'd be bad to talk about it, would it? I don't intend to wag my tongue. Can I borrow a phone? Go ahead, dial 0 to get an outside line. So I dialed the phone number inscribed on the examination card. I could hear the pulse pounding inside my head. Could there possibly be something so absurd? The address on the receipts and cards inside the wallet are all from the area where the grandson lived. The name on the examination card is also a match. The time we deduced that the wallet had been left behind also matched with the kit. Did it seriously have 2 thes right there? The time we deduced that the wallet had been left behind also matched up with the timeline of the killing. Of course, it was possible I could just laugh it off as all a big pile of coincidences, but there wasn't any strong evidence. Rather than all this circumstantial proof, the contents of the phone call I was about to make would have a much greater meaning. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Blank Dental Office. This is the Blank Police. I have a misplaced wallet here. I'm trying to get in contact with the owner. Would you be able to help me? Inside the wallet, there's an examination card of your office. Yes, the name is Toshiki Inogai. If I give you the number on the card, would you be able to look up the phone number? Thank you. If you could. Still holding the receiver, I pulled out a notebook from my breast pocket with a free hand. I opened it up to the passage with the grandson's address and phone number recorded on it. Yes, hello. Yes, go ahead. I compared the phone numbers written in the notebook to the one that was being read out on the other end of the line. During that process, I spun around to look behind me uneasy. I locked eyes with Ooishi. He looked puzzled, wondering what the matter was. Why would I feel uneasy and look behind me? That was because the person on the end of the line was reading out the numbers as though doing so straight from the notebook. Seems headquarters was in quite an uproar thanks to my report. No matter how many times the authenticity of the evidence I have linked to the grandson was called into question, I can only respond that it was the truth. When the lead investigator first picked up the phone, I was grilled about the evidence I found that was almost too good to be true, if I do say so myself. But after having doubts after doubts dispelled, he fell into silence. The receiver was finally handed over to the section chief. When he picked it up, the background thrum on the other end of the line disappeared. I knew it had gone completely silent. After asking the same questions about the wallet that the lead investigator did, he spoke his next words quietly. Got it. We'll dispatch several people as reinforcements. They should be able to make it there by evening. Akasaka, continue with your investigation of the area. Some information on the spot where the wallet is found. Kano will select some people and head directly there. The fact that he was sending Kano, the lead investigator, meant the chief was decided that the possibility that the Onikafuji Defense Alliance was somehow implicit in the kidnapping. It felt as though, however, until the lead investigator, whom he trusted had verified the evidence with his own eyes, he was still going to be skeptical. How'd it go? Seems HQ is sending reinforcements. I was ordered to investigate the area. Where was the wallet dropped? Takatsudo, apparently. This is Okinomiya. All the way over here, this is Hinamizawa. Then even further upstream, way around here, is Takatsudo. He explained where the wallet was found by pointing to locations on a map on the wall. The place called Takatsudo was even more remote than Hinamizawa. There's hardly anybody living in that area around Takatsudo. It was deserted a long time ago. It's littered with abandoned houses. It's relatively quite desolate. Ooishi, could I ask you to guide me to Takatsudo? Yeah, I don't mind. You can't really get in and out of Hinamizawa as you please by yourself after all. I'll have to make you wear the cab and mask again. That Ooishi had agreed to accompany me was very reassuring. If Sato's info was to be believed, my cover had been blown. I wasn't sure if the villagers had realized that the fresh meat dispatched from public safety was the tourist that they had in the village yesterday, in other words, me. But deciding that they haven't noticed would have been overly optimistic. Given a cursory thought, Takatsudo, where the wallet was found, couldn't be ruled out as a hiding spot for the kidnappers. The area didn't have any residential buildings, nor was it alongside a highway. There wasn't a reason for even the locals to go out of their way to visit it. It was exactly what you would call a long-forgotten ghost town at the end of the road. You couldn't ask for a better place to hold a kidnapped grandson, and you couldn't get to Takatsudo without passing through Hinamizawa first. Several conditions made the area all the more important. I couldn't brush it off any longer. There was no longer any doubt Onikafuji Defense Alliance, or somebody hired by them, were involved. If that was the case, the fact that this wallet was found might have already been leaked to them. They even knew so much as how Public Safety Division was operating. The case of the wallet couldn't be something they didn't know. In that case, there was a possibility the enemy was lying in waiting. To dive alone into enemy territory, surrounded by enemy territory, to say the least, required an amount of courage. Well, actually, recklessness that I just did not have. Without your company, Ooishi, I wouldn't be able to step into the village so easily. Thank you for your cooperation. Honestly, I thought that you would ask for more money. Well, if we're being honest, Hinamizawa isn't exactly a place I like to go to. I'd at least appreciate if you pay for cab fare. It's not a request I can't refuse for a friend that's played at the same table as me. He grinned as he pounded me on the back. It struck me he didn't want to jump ship rather than have any sort of sense of duty towards his job. Even so, it didn't really matter. Right now, I really appreciate the gesture. Well, shall we hurry up and get going? If the enemy knew the police had obtained the wallet, they would probably have moved to hostage to a different place. There wasn't a moment to lose. But Ooishi, without regard to the fact that we were about to head out, he removed his jacket. What are you doing? Well, it's just a precaution. If you want me to poke the beehive to get your honey, I have to be rather well prepared, you see. Want to put one on too? He pulled from the drawer below a stab-proof vest. Huh. He came prepared. Hold on. Be right back. Back. His name was Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction, Inugai. Only one reason for him being here. If it didn't include gym or art class, his grades were above average. Result of having private tutoring sessions twice a week. If you omitted the fact that he still couldn't do pull-ups, there wasn't much that would make him hate school. Of course, he understood full well that his grandfather was a cabinet minister. But he also knew that not too many people were that interested in the relationship. He didn't like to go out of his way in bringing up his grandfather, or call him the Minister of Construction. He'd at least try to know a little more about what kind of work the Minister of Construction did than your average Joe. What that entailed was that when you try your best to make life better for the masses, sometimes you make a few enemies. He knew it all too well from the time he spent as class representative. His grandfather had many enemies. He knew he might personally catch some of that fallout. He had to be twice as cautious. He was taught that by his parents. That's why the moment he was kidnapped, he instantly knew this was one of those occasions. He understood he wasn't being treated as Toshiki Inugai, the person, but rather Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction. He wasn't personally at fault, but that was the result of some unavoidable trouble with his grandfather's work. It made a little difference, but when he realized it wasn't because of anything he did, he was able to relax only a little. Of course, at first, he was struck with a terror befitting his age, wondering what was going to happen to him. After a while of being tied up and only able to stay lying down, he pondered a great many things. He thought about the reason he was being abducted like this. He understood the answer to that only easily. He was hostage to coerce his grandfather, the minister. No doubt about that. He didn't know exactly what the Minister of Construction did, but it was easy to imagine there was much to be gained from threatening him. He respected his grandfather more than most. He earnestly believed his own grandfather was within the top 20 of the most important people in Japan. It was exactly why he wouldn't forgive anybody who tried to threaten his beloved grandfather. More importantly, he wouldn't forgive anybody who would use him as a tool to threaten his grandfather. His grandfather is really busy and rarely has time to meet relatives. That's why with what little time he did manage, he just drops by unannounced. And as an apology for not being able to meet during New Year's or summer vacation, he doted on his grandson very, very much. The number of times Toshiki was looked up upon with disregard just because his grandfather was a politician and a minister, it certainly weren't few. But he never thought, even once, that he wanted his grandfather to quit being a politician. Because it was his beloved grandfather, he wanted him to continue his career as long as possible from the bottom of his heart. However, Toshiki was now being held hostage and his grandfather was being threatened. His grandfather, who called him the apple of his eye, was surely suffering. He might do anything to save his grandson. Maybe even putting aside his ideology if it was required to save his grandson. He might cave to the culprit's demands if it meant saving his grandson. When Toshiki thought about that, an inexplicable anger welled within him. In his current situation, he was unable to forgive the cowards who would make his beloved grandfather suffer by using such dastardly means. That feeling swelled up inside him, displacing the fear. What he thought of first was something any boy would imagine. Get out of these bounds, beat up bad guys, hand him over to the police. Images of all the brave heroes from all the manga he read passed through the back of his mind. In his imaginary scenario, he'd slip his bonds easily, floating like a butterfly to evade his captors, then stinging like a bee to bring them all down. In the end, nothing more than a silly little fantasy. But with his vision obstructed and unable to see anything, it was something that he could get into more than any anime at the moment. In actuality, he was enjoying the little scenarios in his head for the long period of time he was tied up. His captors hadn't really done anything to him that they would feel sorry for. Eventually, he would begin to grow tired of his fantasies. More realistic scenarios would begin to run through his head. He It was then he realized none of them were a solution. He wanted to do something for his grandfather who was being threatened. That he was being held to inflict pain on his grandfather was the thing he could least forgive, and also the most vexing. And then he noticed there was a much simpler way he could save his grandfather without having to beat up the despicable captors. To remove himself as a hostage from the hands of the villains. If he was to disappear from here, his captors would have nothing to threaten his grandfather with. Captors have restrained him, but they didn't treat him roughly. They made sure he was fed well. Meaning at the most, he was nothing more than the means of their threat. They weren't looking to bully or kill him out of spite. If he behaved, no ill will befall him. Realizing that gave him a strong sense of courage. Carrying his train of thought thus far, he let it run its course to a natural conclusion. Right now, at this moment, Toshiki Inugai had decided to escape. His ears had been stuffed with sponge-like material, acting as makeshift earplugs. But they didn't actually do much to block out the sound. He could overhear everything his captors were saying. Realizing that this was his advantage, even when his captors spoke to him, he acted as if he couldn't hear them. His captors, thinking he couldn't hear their conversation, talked about all sorts of things without reservations. He was able to attain various pieces of information. This wasn't Tokyo, first off. Seems like this is quite a distance away. On top of that, seems this is quite a distance away. On top of the countryside, on top of that, in the countryside, nestled deep in the mountains. It also seems his captors were inconvenienced living out here. He could deduce that this place is far removed from any sort of town. And whenever they went out to buy food and other supplies, they would always take a car. That caused him some dismay, because he knew the method he learned at school of running around blindly while shouting for help. It wouldn't work here. He paused his little mental escape scenario. The ultimate goal was to find somebody who would help him. If somebody who fit the description wasn't close by, his chances of escaping successfully grew slim. A desolate, far-off land deep in the mountains, a place where you can even go shopping without using a car. In this situation, it would be very difficult. He grew depressed, and after a little while, he returned to the original scenario. Imagining becoming a hero like in the manga he reads, and beating down his captors became his respite. But as he plays those delusions in his head, his heart, hating to surrender, continued in search of a way to escape. And then he thought of a way. If the goal was far away, all he had to do was get closer. His goal in a nutshell was to find somebody that'll help him. In other words, somebody other than his captors. If he faked being sick, they'll have to take him to the hospital or bring a doctor to him. He'd probably be reluctant to do that. But he already knew that the hostage was more important than anything. And the off chance something happened, like him dying, occurred, they wouldn't be able to threaten anybody anymore. Luckily, he had an experience that'll help him fake a serious illness. At the end of last year, he was inadvertently involved in a car accident and had to undergo surgery. Scar from the surgery was still clearly visible in the lower torso. He recalled the pain and suffering from the time. Existence of that experience would make a huge impact on the realism of the performance. He was quite confident in his ability to fake an illness. His captors at first took that as a sign he needed to use the washroom. Untying only his arms, they tried to bring him there while he was still blindfolded. But he didn't try to get up. His hands now free only clutched his abdomen as he writhed in agony. "What's wrong? Does your stomach hurt?" He still had his earplugs in, so he had to pretend he didn't hear the question. He was about to nod, so he hurriedly had to stop himself. "What's the matter?" The kid's clutching the stomach. Must have been a stomachache or something. His captors looked down on his suffering for a bit. One of them proposed a course of action. Another laid his doubts that Toshiki might be faking it. "What's wrong, boy? Your tummy hurt?" His ears are plugged. He can't hear you. "That's a problem. Got any medicine that works in stomach pain? I want to go to the pharmacy and buy some. When it comes to stomach pain, there's a bunch of meds, isn't there? As long as we don't know the cause, we shouldn't just buy him any old medicine. He's old and stomach, maybe he's just constipated. If you buy him some medicine for that, maybe it'll calm him down. It won't kill him if we're wrong either. Don't decide something like that on your own. It might be appendicitis or something. My uncle suddenly got that a while ago. Pretty scary. One of the captors leaned over beside the boy, bent in agony. Feel sorry for the kid. His whole body's covered in sweat. Is that your stomach? Does it hurt? If it hurts, you shouldn't clutch it so tightly. It'll only make it worse. Realizing that the captors were concerned about his stomach, he inadvertently let his shirt right up, letting the scar from the surgery come into plain view. His vision was still obscured with packing tape. He couldn't see the reaction to his scar. But his captors were taken aback. Judging from the momentary silence, he obtained the reaction he was looking for. That's bad. That scar, it's not that old. Does the boy have a fever? A thermometer around? No way we have one, but that's a lot of sweat. Forehead's pretty hot, I think. I've heard that undergoing prolonged stress, old wounds can be agitated. Then what do? Are you saying the medicine won't work? We don't know what surgery this scar was from. In any case, this is bad. The worst case, it could be fatal. It's bad. It's really bad. I am fluctuating probably through several different accents, just trying to impersonate this guy. Maybe we should have a doctor take a look at it. At this rate, there's a chance he might suddenly die on us. Toshiki knew the guy with those few words knew the situation was progressing exactly as he envisioned. Sniggering to himself on the inside, pressing his act even further. Didn't even need to see it and know that his captors were panicked, running around like chickens with their heads cut off at the troublesome turn of events. Should we take him to the clinic? Oh, that's no good. Probably better if the doctor came here. Dr. Irie, you mean? That okay? Well, that'd be alright. If he was, if anything happened to the hostage, nothing we could do. It's an emergency. One of the captors hurriedly left in the car. Another, and the man completely shaken up at this point, wiped the sweat from his forehead, or had, oops, with a handkerchief. It looks like they were bringing a doctor. As long as the doctor was an accomplice, the doctor was his goal. Someone he should seek help from. His captors were probably wary of that happening. They would be prepared for it. This would all come down to luck. Some of the sweat emerging from his brow was from nervousness. At the moment, the packing tape that covered his eyes and ears torn off. The burning light that he was seeing for the first time in several days hurt his eyes. After that, a gap that made him hard to breathe was also removed. You're right, kid. We're bringing the doctor to you right now. Just hold on for a bit. The doctor was coming. Now, how was he going to ask for help, and how was he going to get away from the captors? A plethora of thoughts began to swirl in his mind. I think you know this already, but don't say anything unnecessary to the doctor. We don't want to hurt you or anything. You understand that? Toshiki and Yugai nodded while thanking the pain and obedience. Expectations and the enemy's expectations. Whether they doubted he was faking his illness or not, they knew what his goal was and would try to stop it. His stomach contracted from the stress of this gambit, making it seem like his stomach really was starting to hurt. Well, now it was. But there was no reason to panic. If he failed with his approach to the doctor, there was nothing to lose. If there was something to lose, it was this method of faking illness to get in touch with a doctor. If he could think of other methods from here on out, it won't be much. But at the present, this was the easiest, most dramatic way he could think of. The more he thought, the more it looked like this was his first and last gambit. Eventually, he heard the sound of a car approaching. The sound of the car doors being hurriedly opened and shut. The sounds of several footsteps approaching. A young man in a white medical coat. As he acknowledged the boy, a suspicious look showed on the face. Who's he? He's not one of the kids from the village, is he? They didn't respond. From the looks of it, the young doctor realized this was an abnormal situation. One of the captors talked threateningly. That's got nothing to do with you, Doc. For a while, the doctor and the captor silently glared. Unable to stand aside of the boy continuing to suffer, the doctor, as the captors hoped, didn't press any further. I'm convinced about the old surgical scar. What kind of operation was it? We don't know. I should really bring him back to the clinic. Doc, we really can't really do that. The doctor, he wanted to bring back the boy to the clinic. But the captors simply silently shook their heads at the notion of fleeting hope, but it was only natural that the captors would refuse. At the moment his eyes met with the doctor's, seeing that the boy's painful state was abnormal, the doctor suspected it was a serious illness. Are you alright? I'm a doctor. When was the surgical scar from? Last year, during winter, from an accident. An accident, huh? I see. This is a problem. He couldn't let the doctor figure out he was faking it here. He had to somehow figure out some way to keep this going, telling the doctor he was being confined and needing help. I'm gonna touch the affected area, okay? If it hurts, tell me where. Seeing that it was extremely painful, the doctor crossed his arms and began to ponder. He had to somehow get him to a hospital. To Toshiki Nugai, faking his illness was the performance of a lifetime. But will this be effective? Only one way to find out. Good work, everyone. I know it's hot, but please do your best. If you can catch anybody illegally dumping, contact someone immediately. We'll act quickly. Thanks for your cooperation, Ooishi. Please. Gap wide enough for a single car was opened up in the barricade. Ooishi, showing his gratitude or perhaps a threatening attitude, with a short beep on the horn, rolled the car forward to the checkpoint. My appearance was the very embodiment of the word suspicious. Baseball cap, mask, and sunglasses. On top of that, even though it was sweltering, I was wearing a hoodie. Any respectable police officer would loathe to not stop me for questioning. I had meant to be overcautious, knowing full well my face was known, but it might have already been too late for that to have any use. Using that as an excuse, I doffed the unbearably hot hoodie and windbreaker, ripping off the mask and hat, throwing them in the seat behind me. Oh my, is that okay? With a cheap little disguise like this, they probably figured it out anyways. That just might be the case. Ooishi, probably thinking that my unexpected behavior was funny, continued to laugh. The beautiful, pristine scenery Himizawa spread out before me. The village itself would have been quite beautiful if it wasn't for the complicated circumstances surrounding the moment. I would absolutely love to take Yuki here for a drive one day. Come to think of it, I didn't get a chance to call her last night. I played around with the idea in my head, but in reality the village wasn't sunshine and rainbows. I had heard everything at the prefectural headquarters. The heart of this village, the intelligence network that the three families wielded, was due to blood ties and regional relationships, unbelievably well organized. Their net spread not just to Hinamizawa, but encapsulated the entirety of the city of Shishibone. When I first heard that somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I didn't take it completely seriously. How could a local organization out in the boonies have something so grandiose? I couldn't deny somewhere in the back of my mind I had ridiculed the thought. But not only were they really threatening the minister, they demonstrated that they had complete grasp on the movements, which were supposed to be top secret, almost like the secret police had not controlled a small Eastern European country like that in a spy novel. The villagers here wouldn't bat an eye at getting their hands dirty for men fighting the damn project. I heard somewhere also like that at the prefectural headquarters. Now that you mention it, when I first arrived here, Ooishi said that this place was a war zone, didn't he? The residents of this village were at the same time were at the same time freedom fighters. Although by definition they were no different than guerrillas or a militia. Probably weren't protected by the Geneva Convention, but they also didn't have to adhere to those rules either. His place is more of a quagmire than any legitimate battlefield. A secret war was unfolding. I could drive along because Ooishi was with me, but if I was to leave this car for even something as trivial as looking for a vending machine, there was a chance I wouldn't return. Even though a single shot hadn't been fired, this was a battlefield. Now, the reason why bullets weren't flying was simply because it was hard for a civilian to obtain a gun in Japan. Probably just equipped with weapons other than guns that were easier to obtain, while Ooishi was wearing the stab-proof vest, right? Akasaka, you nervous? The fact that I was apprehensive was of course picked up by Ooishi. If he had already figured it out, there's no point in trying to deny or hide it. Of course I am. We're heading to the heart of enemy territory alone, are we? I'm worried if something unlikely happens to just the two of us. Something unlikely? It'll be alright. Isn't everybody in this village an enemy? If everybody gets their story straight, they could murder someone in broad daylight and there wouldn't be a shred of evidence. I'm asking about something like that. This was what the ironclad rule of not barging into Yakuza office was all about. If there wasn't a neutral party involved, that area wasn't bound by the laws of common sense. If something happened, you wouldn't be able to prove it, and there wasn't anybody who wouldn't take your side. Pretty much the definition of poking that bear. I left word that we're heading towards the Himizawa area. In the worst case, we're also got a radio. I know you're scared, Akasaka, but it's not easy to pull off the perfect crime. Of course, it doesn't matter. We can't let our down either. Akasaka, you're too worked up over this. You were more relaxed the last time we came here together. Laughing it off, Ooishi thumped his chest and grinned as if to say I could depend on him. Well, if it gets really iffy, this comes with having a badge. Ooishi made a motion by sticking out his index finger. Undoubtedly the image of a gun. Will it be of any use? If you're not afraid of dealing with the aftermath after you shoot, it's actually very reassuring. An officer's gun was only for show. If you really want to fire it, there's quite a number of stipulations. You got to be prepared for the wrong probationary period afterwards. Unless you're a cop in the USA, then you still have a job. That definitely wasn't worth it, so even if an officer did unholster his gun, there wasn't one who actually wanted to pull the trigger. Unless you were a racist. Akasaka, you carrying one apiece? Well, yeah. You fired it? I have. For training. I guess that'd be true. Have you, Ooishi? Me? Nah. No way. What was this? I thought he was laughing at me because he had experience. The two of us laughed together. I've also never pointed to barrel anybody. I've looked down the barrel of a gun a few times, though. Me made to look down a barrel like that is enough to shorten your lifespan in 3 years. Even if he had never fired a gun before, you couldn't even begin to compare the amount of experience Ooishi had over me. At a time like this, I could only marvel at how reliable he seemed. Come to think of it, I didn't want to come this way in the middle of the day, but there's no way for a guard to get through other than here. Akasaka, just in case. Put on that mask again. Hide your face. What's the matter? Can you not hear it because the air conditioning's too loud? Let me turn it off. Try opening the window. When I opened it, a blast of hot air blew inside. I could hear angry yelling coming from far away. The forest gave way on either side of us, and our view expanded. There could be seen the Himizawa Dam construction grounds, the very front line of the village. We're absolutely opposed to the construction of the Himizawa Dam. The crackling blare of someone's voice surrounded over an enormous loudspeaker. The roar of angry voices continued to rumble. The incredible volume had become a veritable sound cannon, spewing out ammunition. The prefabricated side office was surrounded by 2 sets of high-wired fences, laced with barbed wire. Lined up in front of those fences, riot police and vehicles. Surrounding it all were villagers. They howled their protests against the dam as a single entity. There's not too many of them today. We're in luck. It's not too many. When there is a lot of them, the crowd reaches as far as the road. You wouldn't be able to inch forward in a car. At first, due to the overwhelming intensity, it looked to me like there was more than there actually was. Upon closer inspection, there was probably at most 50, maybe 70. But the 6 or 7 propaganda trucks lined up that looked like they belonged to a band of thugs were strange enough sight. Villagers were also wearing helmets and bandanas, covering their faces with masks, adding to the oddity of it all. The propaganda trucks, after playing their chorus, had their volume turned up even higher and began to flood the area with sutras. To say the noise was downright violent was an understatement. Nope, it wouldn't even be an understatement. From this distance, it was still loud. The glass in the office was probably rattling from the noise. They can't do anything but take it. Those riot squad guys, every one of them's wearing earplugs, but they still have hearing damage. Or sobs. You can't do something about it with noise ordinance laws? Our prefecture doesn't have laws regarding noise ordinance. Those are sutras, right? We can't regulate religious activities. Those guys are pretty smart. At least I think Ooishi said. No matter how tightly the window was shut, the booming sound of the sutra still filled the car. I couldn't even hear what he says, sitting right next to me. As the car approached the line of propaganda trucks, the blare was difficult to bear. It wasn't enough just to plug my ears with my fingers. I had to hold my head to keep my skull from splitting apart. If I had seen this terrifying energy sooner, I would have probably understood why Himizawa village was much quicker. Now I knew they wouldn't blink an eye at their sacrificing themselves in order to protect their hometown. So goddamn noisy. Shut up. My head throbbed. It felt like it was going to split apart. My eardrums crackled, and on top of it all, I felt like I was going to throw up. With the road crowded with a throng of squatters, by the propaganda trucks and the riot police vehicles, it was in no way easy to get by. Even if you tried to shoot the squatters with a car horn, they were also wearing earplugs, oblivious to noises from the outside world, and wouldn't easily move. The car could only inch forward at a snail's pace. Even then, the car eventually got through, starting to leave the tumultuous noise behind. Hey, the bald guy that was playing mahjong with us last night, remember him? I remember that there was an older person who didn't exactly mince words. The guy who we should call old man. Someone like that. You see, he's the foreman of the main construction site. Probably holed up in that prefab building, trying to work while irritated out of his mind. Poor fella. You wouldn't be able to stand it if it's like that every day. No end to the number of people who can't handle it and quit. Every time that happens, their wages go up. I won't say it's in vain. Even having to deal with all the noise and hostility, they still make a wage that Ooishi found enviable. Damn it, these guys. Can they hear or can't they? A group of squatters were in the way of the car. Ooishi, sufficiently annoyed, laid in the horn, but they were no indication that they were moving anytime soon. In this den, could they not hear a car horn? Or did they hear it and were being malicious? If there was any riot police nearby, it would have made the people move. But it just so happened there weren't any. Jeez, wait just a minute. Ooishi opened the door. Hot air and even more heat and roar of the crowd spilled into the car. Ooishi said something as he grinned widely, but I couldn't hear what it was. He was getting them to move, something like that. He stepped out of the car and closed the door. The din faded slightly. I stared blankly as he headed towards the group, starting a conversation. Maybe we'd find the minister's grandson at Takatsudo. At the very least, I want to find him there. Find him, slip the cursed bonds of this incomprehensible village. I could only pray. At the moment, a shadow was suddenly casting over me. Somebody was standing right outside the passenger side window, blocking the sunlight. I spun around, looked up, realized who the backlit figure was. A little girl. Rika Furude. The girl stared down at me with a bored look in her eyes. I didn't have any justification for it, but I felt like I had been found by someone I shouldn't be found by. To fill the silence, I raised my head as I mouthed a meek greeting. Of course, there was no way she heard my small voice in this clamor. But even then, she would have seen me wave my hand in greeting. In spite of that, she simply stared down at me with a cold look. At the moment, the noise and heat spread throughout the car once again. Ooishi returned to the driver's seat. Taking a look, the group that was blocking the road started to move aside, glaring away. Sorry to keep you waiting. Shall we go? Ooishi registered the figure of the girl behind me. One of the villagers came by and picked her up, in a manner of "it's dangerous, so get away." It was then she whispered 1-2 words, but I couldn't hear any of it. Well, let's go. I'm gonna gun it, okay? But of course still within the speed limit. As if to shake off the still audible angry voices, Ooishi floored it. Along with the roar and the din of the shouting, the villagers and the girl quickly disappeared. As soon as we're through here, we're in Takatsudo. You okay if we end up getting into a firefight? Don't be fumbling with the safety at the last moment, you hear? He laughed mockingly. I was more concerned with what the girl said as I was vaguely bothered by it. What was she trying to say with that pathetic and candid expression? Suppose it's normal if you're nervous from here on out, but if you don't deal with it, there's a chance you might do something rash. But there was no longer a way to confirm what the girl had tried to tell me. Might have been the girl warned me to go back to Tokyo again, or else was saying to me who was here now, ignoring the warning. Even though I warned you, what a fool. I had the feeling it was something like that. If you were to call Himizawa a rather lonely village, Takatsudo was outright desolate. For your everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anybody would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating it was all abandoned. People really lived in a place like this, didn't they? Well, it was a long time ago. A remote place like this is pretty rough. And the younger people probably want to try living in a more suitable place. If there's no way left to take the reins, all that gets left is this. Even if I have no personal attachment to another spelling error. Yikes. Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. Seems Ooishi felt the same way. Was the wall found over here? The person who found it must have had a good reason to come out to this desolate place. Some villagers who have a field out in the mountains here. They pass by here in the morning and evening. Villagers who work in the fields walk by here? No way, they probably go as far as they can by car. Earlier mornings and evenings they pass by here and just happen to find a single wallet. They probably did. Where exactly did they say? A thicket just a bit further. The person who found it just happened to have some stomach cramps. Was planning to use the thicket to do his business, it seems. It was there he happened to find it. Probably hoping there was some toilet paper in there. Everything about that story just seems a little too convenient, right from the discovery of the wallet. I just can't shake the feeling that something's off. I expressed the feeling that I had from the start of the day, quite frankly. It seems too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. It was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling. Might actually be on to something saying it's all a little too perfect. Meaning, truth is I heard a little something from a friend of mine in the 4th Division. Where Yusanazaki referred to the kidnapping to the minister's grandson. She referenced it? Yeah, it's been several days since the minister's grandson has been kidnapped, poor boy. Be nice if they let him go soon. Seems that old Irie muttered something like that on her veranda. And what that little musing was conveyed to the various people working deep behind the scenes of the Sonosaki family. Right, I heard something from Sato, the informant. When the leader Oryu had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate. So in essence, she gave the order to release the hostage. I see it that way. The Wally being conveniently discovered was just a ploy to hand the boy over to the police. Why would they release the hostage? Well, there's only one reason why someone would release a hostage, isn't there? And that would be, they reached a deal. That would mean the minister promised to halt the Hinamizawa Dam project. The Dam project will definitely go away. At the moment, those words that the girl has said resurfaced in the back of my mind. In the end, it was turning out exactly as she proclaimed. That young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about the kidnapping, from beginning to end. Akasaka. The girl unexpectedly... No, wait. Bleh. I misread that. Akasaka. The girl unexpectedly called my name. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Before long, you will woefully regret coming to this village. It'd be incredibly pathetic things to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I ever come to regret it? Stop whining. When you tried to cross the road when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd put you right back right away, wouldn't they? They'd put you back explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl who knew everything from start to finish warned me in the beginning. Go back to Tokyo. Akasaka is such a coward. We'll probably find a boy, but what happens afterwards will be a bit of a problem. That'll be a problem. It's something a single officer like me can't figure out. Do you know a girl named Rika Furude? When I said it was such a non sequitur that Ooishi sat in stunned silence for a while. Of course I know her. The only daughter of the Furude family, one of the three families. What kind of girl is she? Well, this was an unexpected name to hear. I'm a bit surprised. Does Papa say they think that the Furude family smells fishy and want to keep an eye on them? Share some of that information with me. It's not like that. Just something that caught my attention. Well, whatever. Wouldn't do to not answer a question from a friend I've sat at the same table with. Earned her to call me a friend. Little lady is, well, somewhat of a village mascot, beloved by everybody in the village. Some of the older folk worship her especially. Worship? I don't know much about it, you see. Girls born in a Furude family have somewhat of a sacred implication. One of the local beliefs at Himiyazawa. The living incarnation of Ooishi or somewhere, something like that. So the story goes. And now that you mention it, I think I saw it written on some alliance banners. So who is he? The name of the garden deity, Himiyazawa. They believe it'll exact punishment on those who would do ill towards the village. Well, if there was such a convenient god around, the guys at the dam would have been long since been done and by divine justice. Luckily, nothing like that has happened to anybody. The grandson of the minister who trifled with the village as the result of the Ooishi's anger was, what did they call it again? Oh, Onikakushi. The minister's grandson was deemed away. That would probably be how the script was being written. I see, it probably would turn into something like that. Fine punishment wrought out by Ooishi. Then the culprit is the living incarnation of Ooishi. That girl. Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying. The fact that Ooishi laughed at all was a bit of a relief. His joyous laughter was so infectious, I began to laugh like an idiot. Oh, this is unusual. After laying the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. A car heading the opposite way. Until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. Of all places, it was at the desolate location. Seems that Ooishi knew the owner of the car. The other car also chipped its arm and came to a stop. Dr. Irie, good afternoon. The other car's window rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white coat. About my age, probably a little older, but you really can't judge somebody by appearance. Why, if it isn't Ooishi, good afternoon. Fancy meeting you here. That's my line, Doc. I never thought I'd seen you here. What happened? Oh, nothing, a little house call. Oh, really? An emergency? Nothing quite that serious, thankfully. I'll take my leave here. If I don't get back quickly, my staff will be angry with me. Being the head of a clinic must be tough. Well then, take care. The young doctor, Irie, after gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and disappeared around a corner. Ooishi drove forwards, but soon came to a stop. He pulled out a worn map book of the dash. Expression didn't have an ounce of irrelevance. He was perfectly serious. What is it? The clinic shouldn't be making house calls today. Must have been quite an emergency, or otherwise a patient with some excruciating circumstances. He flipped through the pages, opening up the map of Takatsudo. He looked around and started to figure out the current location. He's saying the emergency is suspicious? Didn't I say? Hardly anybody lives in the Takatsudo area. The road we're on right now? Here. Dr. Irie came from this direction. Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating. We're heading towards the spot where the wallet was found. By the way, that's over here. But see, if you're heading to one of the few residences, it's the wrong road. He came from a direction where there are no residents. As long as somebody working in the fields between these mountains didn't collapse. But if somebody collapses and you call a doctor, normally you bring them back with you for a more detailed examination. But he said it was nothing serious. It didn't seem like anybody else was in the car with him. He didn't say anything more than that. I also said nothing more. That doctor just now examined a patient close by. Only that. The noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky had just suddenly turned an oppressive color. As Ooishi mused that it might start raining, a torrential downpour started, as though trying to not disappoint him. Eventually, Ooishi stopped the car. The only sound to break the silence, the percussion of rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers. Let's do this a bit hush, shall we? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful to not make any noise. Ooishi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and a car parked outside. The car is obviously well cared for. Wasn't a vehicle left there for several years. What's that said? Contains equipment used by forestry service. Heard they don't go near it except during summertime. Does this car belong to somebody from there? I don't know. Doesn't look like an official vehicle. He was playing it cool, but the nervousness was gradually increasing. Just in case. Saying that, he returned to the car. I thought he was going to get an umbrella, but he grabbed the onboard radio. Hello, this is Ooishi. Do you read? Greetings. Yes, this is Gonzo SP. Ooishi, we read you loud and clear, over. Currently in front of the Forestry Service equipment shed, not the one in the direction of Yagochi, the one in Takatsudo if you head there from Hinamizawa. Affirmative, copy that. Some suspicious people in the shed. Proceed to investigate. If you don't hear it back from me in 5 minutes, get in touch with the local police substation. Have them send a cruiser as soon as possible. If you would, please. Understood. Well then, shall we go take a look? Since he was first confined here, he had heard the sound of a car multiple times. He just thought the far-off sound was more the same. But the reaction from his captors was until now something he hadn't seen. They jumped, reacting as if shocked by a jolt of electricity, pressed against the window, cautiously peering. They stopped. Somebody for the forestry service? It's bad. Nah, it looks like a cop to me. One of the captors lifted the boy by the collar, pressing a blade against the cheek. You can't keep this quiet for a bit. I think you know this. If you try to shout, there'll be problems. He was sure the doctor had reported things to the police. He had felt relief when he thought that he was saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence. When they were cornered, his anxiety remained unabated. What do we do? Gotta buy time. Shit. I'm hitting shit. Take the kid, slip out the back. Meet back here when the heat's off. One of the perpetrators grabbed the boy by the collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki had tried to resist by feigning his illness, had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but the captors paid no heed. Bang, bang, bang. The door was banged upon. Excuse me, hello? Bang, 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 bang. The door was banged upon. Toshiki and her guy hesitated for a moment to respond to the voice by yelling. However, while he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking the option away. The leader of the captors waved the other at the go. The young perpetrator nodded in response. While keeping the boy's mouth covered, he started heading towards the back door. Hello? Did you need something? How do you do? This is the police. Would you mind opening the door? His son Rain has us in a bit of a trouble. I'll just open. The moment the lock was undone, Ooishi forced the door open. With a gleam of menace in his eyes, she pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. In the small and empty room, he was able to quickly discern that the boy he was looking for is nowhere to be seen. I heard this was an equipment shed for the forestry service, but there's nothing here at all. Nothing inside the room that would indicate this was an equipment shed. There was only a mound of blankets, indicating someone was sleeping here, along empty food packets strewn about. It's been empty for some time now. Never seen no equipment store around here. But this is the forestry service building, isn't it? You're from forestry. How about you, police? The two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Ooishi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal the identity before the other did. The man, judging from the sharp look, realized it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. No matter what he said, most time he could buy would probably be a few dozen seconds. The sound of rain filled the tense moment. They heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Ooishi had a hunch. No doubt Akasaka, circling around back, ran into the perpetrators trying to slip away. Actually, she thought that the man in front of her reacted a moment faster. The man swung in with an attack that was more intended to obscure Ooishi's vision rather than hit him. Seizing the opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Ooishi's groin without any hesitation, but he missed his mark and was able to land that critical blow. The man trying to pin Ooishi grabbed him by the base of the neck, both hands, and fiercely tried to push him down. But as Ooishi fell backwards, as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum, the man was flung by falling Ooishi as if by a circle throw. The two of them squared off in the pouring rain. Isn't this interesting? You want to go? Ooishi, after trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He stood up while brushing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Ooishi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man who he threw. He swiftly sprung to his feet. Ooishi-san, hurry! Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Judging from the distance, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Ooishi to reconvene with him. But his hands were folded well. Akasaka, sorry, but can't you wait a bit? The man raised both his fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or a form of martial art. Of course, Ooishi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights. Despite, well, actually because of that, he could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Damn. Thinking that this was going to be easy just became the order came from the Sonosaki family to reach the Hodges had been a big mistake. Pretty good. It's been a while since I got this worked up. Ooishi played off the situation like this was no sweat. The opponent, seeing the attitude, took that to mean that Ooishi wasn't going to go down easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempted to grab Ooishi. If the man managed a successful clinch from the low stance, Ooishi would have been tackled to the ground, ended up being mounted. Something you saw often when children fought, but it was really a bad position since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Ooishi, responding to the move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head on. The moment they clashed, Ooishi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. A move of Ooishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed onto his with free hand and attempted to throw the opponent with both hands. But the man, lowering his center of gravity and swinging his arms in a large arc, entwined them with Ooishi's. Not only that, he forced both of Ooishi's elbows to the outside. Ooishi, now in an awkward position, was danger, exposing his back with his hands still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido or grappling? Ooishi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over. On top of it, zero range. The man was able to read Ooishi's moves completely as he tried to squirm away into a better position. He took the palms of his hands and swiftly clapped them over both of Ooishi's ears. Clapping the ears in any other martial art except for self-defense is forbidden. Karate and Judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. It was that much of a simple and dangerous attack. Ooishi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears. Before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Ooishi's neck. Thick biceps clenched him firmly around the base of Ooishi's neck like a vice. Ooishi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He had chosen to keep his hold and forcing Ooishi to lose consciousness. That's why Ooishi at the moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponent had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. Even though that might be the case, the man's holding on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Ooishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo during his study days, he was utterly resigned to the fact that it was over. Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He bumped into the captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki New Guy's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain that the boy in front of him was the real deal, with his mouth covered in packing tape. With his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't even overlook his momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot. Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. Upon hearing Ooishi's bellowing voice, he gave up going in that direction. He dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Ooishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option, but he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back, running through his short, thicket branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed him, small scratches inscribing themselves on the body, one after another. He kept on stepping into piles of mud, and his shoes soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, traveling through this unexplored floors was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. "Stop! This is the police!" As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as if it was but a wasted breath. There wasn't a thief in the world that would politely stop by when told by the police. To a city boy, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in this pursuit. Akasaka realized that gained back a bit of composure. Just keep chasing him. We're running in the same conditions. The man running with an awkward stride was far more at a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. Soon, his wish was fulfilled. The man who had stepped in something and lost his balance was no able to bear the weight of the boy, dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all. Just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Inugai. If the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. It seemed Toshiki was important to the man as well, and he didn't like to just run empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. First priority should have been to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing the captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on. Well, most likely it was either do or die. His moment of indecision proved to be fatal. The man, aiming right between, or rather for both of Akasaka's eyes, struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, he raised both his hands and shielded his face. At the moment, the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. The pain felt like his vital organs were being squeezed, but it latched onto his opponent's leg. His opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances was he letting the leg go. The two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen into an awkward position, he was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka, holding on his opponent's knee with both hands, and the opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, still latching his leg and couldn't move away. He pounded full force on his head with both fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby, beating against Akasaka's skull. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head, but if he lets go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would have been for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, it was goodbye to this freakish village. Without looking, I could tell my forehead had split open and was gushing blood, but I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I wouldn't let go. When the man realized no matter how much he beat my head, he wasn't going to get away, he used both his hands to grab my throat, crushing the windpipe. I pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush like a vice. Less about the pain not being able to breathe. It was choking so hard, I felt like I was going to throw up. It felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, but I could only endure it. Damn it! This throat hurts! I can't let go. I won't let go. I don't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this, go back to Tokyo. Just go back, talk to Yuki. All about our unborn child. We were going to talk about a bright future. I have no intention of losing my grip. However, it loosened a bit and the man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning and I was unable to get up right away. I couldn't even pull any strength into getting up in the first place. I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, the chance will never come again. Just catching their sin was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over the head with. My turn. The rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough to power the attack. My fist still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. It hurt him quite a bit, it seems. The man rolled away for a bit, clutching his side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. Toshiki new guy, right? I've come to help you. To the boy, those were the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. Because even though he was still clutching his side, the man had gotten up, taking a fighting stance. I could see it in the man's eyes, the resentment at the pain I had caused him and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash head-on again, he might not even stop if my head were to split open. Stop resisting. Surrender quietly. You should just hand the boy over. Do you want me to snap your neck? Who would listen to you now? Reinforcements are already on their way. Nowhere for you to run. He reacted adversely to the word reinforcements, because he now knew that arguing like this was just a waste of time. It would put him closer and closer to danger. Realizing that, he shifted mental gears almost too quickly. We'll finish this fast. How about this? What the man pulled from his back pocket was, of all things, a gun. Of course, I'm a police officer. Not like I don't know what a gun is, but having one pointed at me was something I never expected. Was it real? Of course it was. No way to be a replica in a situation like this. Put both your hands behind your head and lay down quietly. Don't get cocky, villain. I'm not going to do anything you say. Stupid idiot, do you not know what this is without me shooting you with it? Well, shoot. Reinforcements are going to hear a gunshot and we'll head right over here. You stupid? We're in the middle of the forest. On top of that, it's raining. We'll never hear a thing. As long as he still held a gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other, I would just shot him and take the boy. Fastest and would have suppressed any sort of further resistance. But the man was demanding my surrender when I haven't fired a shot. He either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. The man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. He was probably on his way, and the reinforcements we'd call before coming here would be here on the way. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed would be much quicker than that. Damn it. I had to put a bullet in you to understand how dangerous this thing is. No escape. Don't add to your crimes. I heard the rustling of foliage, heavy footsteps approaching. If Ooishi was coming here, it was a whole new ball game. The man could have more than one gun. Ooishi, over here! Huh? I had thought that time was on my side, but failed to even imagine the enemy could also have reinforcements. You could tell the man who had just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him. What are you doing? If you don't hurry up, the police will get here! I'm lollygagging! Damn it! What happened to Ooishi? The chubby fella is down for the count. He is? Damn it! Sensitive to the impending danger, the boy curled up. How could this be? Your buddy isn't coming. Serves you right. Shoes on the other foot now. As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man pulled a gun. Won't be saying this twice. Put your hands on your head and lie down. I still refuse. No regrets! As I shouted into protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register. I'd been shot. Compared to the ones from movies and dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. The sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. Fear, you know that only after you've been shot. Sir, you okay? You okay? The boy in his confusion tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put a bold face and reassure him. The voice was harsh and had the opposite. I'm alright. I've already called for backup. There'll be a full squad here soon. It'll be quicker to put on through your head before the cops get here. Or put one through your head. But the family said no need is killing, so I'm taking it easy on you. Don't miss me, I ain't holding back. This was bad. The very bad situation. The second man was a completely different beast. No signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot, I bet he would. He wasn't somebody that a man like me could buy time from. I hated to admit it, but at the moment the image of Yuki's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself to not throw my wife away over a matter of pride. But I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life. I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life for some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical junction of my own life? Damn it, I need to stop rambling on myself. What do I do now? Give up the boy, extend my own life? Good idea, everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. It hurts, damn it. If I knew it would be painful, I would have played a tough guy. The biggest miscalculation was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I imagined. If it was only that loud, it would have been drowned out by the rainforest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear. Damn it, wait. I don't want to die. And I don't want to kill you. As long as you understand. Don't shoot, okay? Don't have a wife waiting for me. I don't want to die. I won't shoot you as long as you're done yelling. Just quietly put your hands on your head and lie down. Will you really? Will you really? You'll keep your promise? It's a promise between men. I will. It's a promise between men. Well, then you better keep your promise. I'm gonna get down on the ground, okay? Getting down now. Keep my promise. Just stop pointing the gun. You're still thinking of shooting me, aren't you? Shoot me dead. When I get down on the ground, you're just gonna shoot me in the back of the head, are you? It won't. Fine. I'll put it away. Put the gun away. It's a promise between men. Yeah. No problem now, right? No complaints. Da 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 da. And there is Ooishi to the rescue. Jesus, your timing is fucking piss poor. It was all over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Ooishi didn't let his chance slip by. He'd been assessing the situation for quite some time behind the two men. Since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Ooishi's face indicating he wanted me to create an opening, I took that role completely. Ooishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun with him. But with his ally grappling with Ooishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. If the man was the one that wrestled with Ooishi at the moment, he might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't. He kicked the other man away. While aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, he pulled out his own. With guns akimbo, he aimed at both men at the same time. I do believe that's checkmate. Perfectly played. But heedless of the guns, the men shouted scram as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Ooishi quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment. He slipped both guns into his pants pockets. This. Guys know their stuff. What did you mean? Officer wouldn't fire at somebody who's fleeing. I wanted to keep my pension. Ooishi and I grinned at each other. You Toshigahino guy? The grandson of the Minister of Construction? Yes. This is going to be a major incident. We'll probably only cut the tail off of the lizard. Ooishi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance, or maybe the Sonosaki family behind him, was pulling the strings. But proving it wouldn't be easy. With apologies to Ooishi, this incident was unlikely to go public. If this caused an uproar, it'll obviously lead to the minister losing his office. HQ having decided that doing so was in national interest. This will probably be cleaned up quietly. Might have been a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows, and was gonna die in the shadows. You probably understood the implications behind this. For the time being, let's cordon off the area. It seems one of them still has a gun. After that, we'll get a new guy to safety and get you to the hospital. As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wounded my shoulder blossomed once again. Forehead was stingingly painful, had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead. What came off, though, was a large amount of blood. My shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound. No doubt. There will probably be an investigation on the man who ran, but that was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we had cleared a major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. As soon as I recognized that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit with a power failure. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant even though I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. He came closer asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. A very kind person. Mission accomplished. Patients admitted to the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. That's why she wouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday she had teased him that he got lonely easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. Much easier to imagine rather than he might just be too busy to call. Because he's just that type of person. Yuki, whispering that, smiled to herself. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital intercom, along with music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her. Probably eager for his mother to be discharged, their small child was wearing a beaming smile. That child's mother was pregnant in the bed next to mine, with what may be their new brother or sister. They were probably ready to burst with the expectations, dreams, and worries of a new sibling. The joys of a growing family. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. I had talked with them about how many children we wanted to have. We talked about how if we had 3, it would certainly be lively. However, this was the inexplicable worry of whether I would be able to handle giving birth that many times. There's another out there who would hate to give birth because of that worry, though. Yuki smiling as she said that herself, she gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division, the place where that man says the justice had led him. That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. He didn't talk much about specifics, but I didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But as long as he has said he was going to try his best, I would watch over him warmly. Your father, you see, is a very hard worker, you know. Yuki seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. At that moment, Yuki suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time. Long ago. She remembered that when she was little, about the time in the countryside where her grandmother lived. The Higurashi would fill the air with a chorus. Middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of them. For some reason, at that moment, she felt that she wanted to hear it. I guess that's it. Time to save. Time to take a break, man. I'm parched.